we are actually going to do like a combined presentation because there's an overlap. Our middle school and high school kind of jointly work together on this project, so we're going to just present together, and we'll kind of hand off and talk between us. So joining us in addition here, you got Marsha Colvin, a teacher here at Johnson Central. We got Monica Daniel, she's our CTE principal. Nikki Cottle, she's the science teacher and Project Lead the Way teacher. And then myself, I'm Noel Crum, the principal, and this is Joe Estep, the principal at Johnson County Middle School. So we're missing, Sean Hall couldn't be with us today, but we have everybody else here for our presentation. So really this has been kind of an evolution of something that's occurred over a long time, and something that I've been kind of wanting to get started for some time. And this past year, when the ACT program come to be, it seemed like the perfect opportunity that maybe we could just jump in and get something like this started. And it was a really big undertaking, but we realized that if we just had to go ahead and jump in full force and just do a full implementation of it, and we thought that would be the best thing to do. So it about killed us in July and early August trying to get this thing off the ground. But the big thing that we have noticed, and this has been a trend I think I've noticed throughout my whole career for the last 20 years, is it seems like that with all of the situations we have today, where we have split homes, children that they're raised, I mean, some homeless are hopping from, home to home, and aunts and uncles and grandparents and everybody, there's really not a true sense of stability to provide young people with some of the basic leadership skills that help you succeed in life. And if you really look at our core curriculum and you look at what's being expected of us from a teaching standpoint, that's all just content, factual matter, when you look at math, science, English, social studies, and those things. But if you really think about curriculum, the core curriculum, and what's out there and what's being taught, there really is a huge gap. There is nowhere that you have the opportunity to I guess pick up these things that we've all kind of taken for granted, those of us that may have grew up in a normal home setting. So through this period of time, what I've kind of been doing is doing some research for really the past decade on what are those missing ingredients that help people be able to find success. And it seems like that the key thing here is leadership skills. And when I say that, I'm talking about those who follow, those students that a lot of students are just looking for a way to fit in. They just want to be accepted. They want to be a part of something. If you develop a follower mentality, then you can easily get influenced or get caught into the wrong group of people. And I've seen students from good homes get caught up into the wrong people in the wrong crowd. I've seen students from bad homes get caught up and go into the wrong crowd. I've also seen the opposite. I've seen students that didn't even have a home that have wound up doing great things, and I've seen students also that have good support. So I don't think we can tab this back to socioeconomic conditions. I think that it really goes back to the idea of leadership skills. Those people who are willing to walk to the beat of their own drum, those people that are willing to take the risks they need to in life, to be their own, look at their own destiny, those people are the ones that seem to succeed. It doesn't really matter what their background is or those things. So for us, this was an idea of how do we go about trying to identify those skills and try to integrate that into our curriculum, because it doesn't exist anywhere. Okay, so that's kind of where this was birthed at. And then what we really wanted to do was come up with a way that we could do this and make it meaningful. Okay, we'd had advisory programs, and those of you that have been at a high school level before probably had advisor-advisee programs or things like that. The problem with those programs is that there's usually not much skin in the game for students. Okay, so students are not very engaged sometimes, and to be frank, teachers aren't very engaged sometimes because it's not part of, they're not being tested on, it's not part of their curriculum, it's not something that they do, and it's often not in a routine. You may meet once a month, you may meet here and there, and so there's no consistency to it. And then you may have one teacher that's taking it real seriously and doing something great. You may have go down the hallway and maybe nothing going on. So what we wanted to do was try to create a situation here where we could create something that was consistent, that was on a regular schedule, and could provide something that the students would get something meaningful back. Okay, so when we through KVEC the last year or two, and looking at a lot of the movement in the nation towards looking at badges and trying to get the credentials, micro-credentials, I couldn't think of the word, micro-credentials, we thought the best way to maybe approach this was to actually look at trying to award credit to the students, but not based off of taking a test. Instead, it would be more about trying to complete 9-week segment projects, okay? So what we decided to do was create a schedule where every Wednesday there would be an extra period carved out. You still have your other 7 periods, but we created like a 50-minute period where the students could work on these leadership principles, okay? So I don't want to get ahead of myself, but a lot of the things we were looking at included like finding your own strengths. That's a big area that we thought was important because I think a lot of students say they want to go into an area or career and they don't really know if that's something that they're good at. Okay, so trying to identify and be honest about where your strengths lie, and also looking at motivation and looking at how do we get ourselves motivated and in the right direction, and trying to then connect where we think our talents lie, where we think our skills are, and look at what we're also passionate about, because you also have to look at what areas that you are interested in and see where those things intersect. If you can find where those intersect, then you can get on the path to the right direction. So what we used was, and a lot of the research that I've been working on the last decade has been on looking at these steps, and we've come up with 12 steps. Okay, it's like a 12-step protocol to go through that we think would, if you did these in 9-week segments, this is a 3-year process. Okay, so this is not something that's going to happen overnight. But this year, what we did was with sophomores, juniors, and seniors, we set this up that they would have each 9 weeks, that would be a quarter. You finish 4 of those over 3 years, that would be all 12 modules. Freshmen are in a bar program. We'll get into that later if we have time and explain it. I think that's part. I want to let Joey step in here real quick, and he can talk a little bit about how the middle school, how we decided to try to start working towards integration.
Please take it back. Here. You're back. All right. All right, again, I'm Joey Estep. I'm the principal at the middle school. And the main area that our teachers were concerned with as far as our students was the area of motivation. And this year, for year one, what we try to do is to kind of focus on that area. With at the end of the year, we're going to kind of lead our students, transition our students into some of the things that they can expect and look forward to when they go to the high school. But this is a picture of actually one of our students. What our teachers wanted to do was to award students with an award. The students that present themselves, the ones that have these leadership qualities that we're talking about, we have in our students. And what we did, I had like leadership rallies at the school. So far we've had 2. The teachers have selected students for our next one. Go back one more slide. This is a group of our students. The very first time that we presented them, this is just an 8th grade group of students. Our school is divided up into teams. We have 6 teams, so each team was asked to select 2 students that demonstrated these strong leadership qualities to present these awards to in front of the entire school. And the second time we wrote it around, these these students actually presented the awards to the next group of students. And now our teachers have selected the students that's going to be earning them probably the last time for the school year. And so we'll present them again, these same awards for the students. And it gives them a few new opportunities that maybe they would not have had. These students actually created and recorded a radio spot for the radio that just promotes our school. They went over to the radio station, visited the radio station, and did a radio spot for the school. So that was kind of our step one, kind of our phase in for this whole idea of leadership. Mr. Crum and I have worked together for several years, and ultimately that's what we want to get to some of the things he's talking about, where it's almost part of a student's requirements, a student's promotion from 7th grade. We want to be able to say, okay, this student is eligible for promotion. They have completed leadership goal A, leadership goal B, or they have earned their quarter credits in leadership. So that is the ultimate goal. How we're going to kind of finish the year, wrap this up as far as getting our students transitioned into high school. It's something we're going to talk about in a few minutes, but we're going to be presenting to our kids and have them kind of get their feet wet, per se, on how they're going to transition into the high school with these vision boards that they're going to be talking about next. Is that what's next?
Yes.
Yep.
We'll go back to it in a minute. Yeah.
Okay, this is a vision board that we'll get to here shortly, but this is what we want our students to kind of get their feet wet with at the end of the year. That way next year they go over to high school, they start working on these. It's going to be something that's fresh on their mind, and just like anytime you do something like that, you always have this, oh man, I wish I would have done this, or so if we wanted to wait till the end of the school year, kind of present that to our kids. Mr. Crum is going to come over, have some student samples just like that one that we're going to present to our students, and they're going to get a start on that, and then next year hopefully they'll be able to jump right in and kind of roll with it once they get to high school. What's next?
On the inputs, yeah, you want to just talk about how you're all, you've already done it with your enrichment class? Okay. Okay, I think I've talked a little bit already about our modified schedule. Like on Wednesdays, like I said, we have that broke up to where that after our third period, we have an extra period created to where they can go through and do that. We also once a month do our club day during that period. We wanted it to be a routine. That way, it wasn't one of those things that you know every Wednesday they kind of got used to that. Of course, we've had some strange weather and everything else going on here lately, so it's been a little bit of a challenge. I'm going to hand this over to Nikki, and she's going to talk a little bit about what the teachers' roles were with this.
Marcia and I are both teachers, so if you want to come over here, Marcia. Marcia and I will share with you some student work samples, and Marcia has come up with a couple of the lesson plans so far. So teachers always, I worry anytime a new initiative is started because I always wonder, what am I going to have? Is this another hoop I'm going to have to jump through, another lesson plan I'm going to have to make? But it's not. Am I not loud enough? Now I'm loud enough. So Marcia has designed, will you go to the next slide? Yes, go to the next. Here's, I think the vision board, was that one of the first lessons that you designed for us? If you'll explain, Marcia, the vision board, I'll talk about the student work sample.
I'm Marcia Colvin, and I teach at Johnson Central. And the first semester, the lesson plans is the grit of this leadership program. Okay, it's the grit, and that's what everyone wants to know about. How do you get it done? So the first semester, we started on a vision board, and at the high school, you have to have a career pathway. What is your major? Okay, and we wanted students to own and understand what it means to be a nursing major, to be an engineering major. And one of the first things we had to do was to create a vision board. How do I get from a freshman year to being a nurse, or to being an engineer, or being an accountant? So we had them create a vision board. So I have, and we all have this mentality, if you build it, they will come. So if we provide them with the lesson plan that they can follow, then teachers will follow it. And the lesson that we had for this, is we break it up into procedures, step 1, step 2, step 3, exactly what they have to do to create the vision board at the end. And on that, we had them put down what do they need to take in their career major in the high school, what steps do they need to complete in high school to get to the nursing program, to choose a college that they want to aim for, what classes do I need to take in college to create my vision board. We were also pushing this idea of a student learning community. We talk about PLCs, it's a teaching lingo, PLCs, our professional learning community. We would like to see students create a student learning community where they can be a member of the nursing students and the engineering students, accounting students, and so on. So the next slide is our vision board that one of our students created.
So this lesson plan was implemented by sophomore, junior, and seniors. So all grade levels, except for freshmen because they're in the bar academy, would do this same lesson plan. This is an example. I have the senior biomed students, and this was an example of one of my senior biomed students' vision boards. You can see she had to write what classes she had taken. I didn't realize that. The college classes that she had to do some research on what some college classes she was going to have to take in order to be a registered nurse. Here are some things that she's taken part of while she's in school. She's been a HOSA student. I think the next lesson plan is also one related to goals. And I can, if you...
Go ahead and talk about it. She'll explain it.
This was another one of my senior biomed students' work. She had to think about her basic responsibilities she has just as a person, as a teenager, and what extracurricular responsibilities does she have. Sorry. And how those will help her achieve her personal and career goals. So this is another lesson plan that sophomores, juniors, and seniors all had to do. And I think the next one was a team logo. Would you like to explain the team logo?
So the first semester, we spent a long time on the vision board goal settings for our students. This semester, we are actually looking at them stepping in and taking that leadership role. And you know, as teachers, that most students won't voluntarily step up. So we've created lessons in which the kids are grouped into groups of 4 in a group, and we have 4 lessons coming up. And in each lesson, there has to be a team leader. And for the first lesson, they had to create a team logo. They had to draw it, and we gave them time, because time is part of being a leader. You have to be aware of time management, and they had to do it within a 55-period class. They had to listen to all members of their teams and take in their ideas and to try to incorporate them. So after they finished their team logo, which is the next slide, they have to have a follow-up paper. And on the follow-up paper, they'll put the group name, whoever the team leader is on that group project. Then they'll go through and did your team leader. And this is the part, we want them to critique their team leader but not be critical of their team leader. So did they listen to all team members, yes or no, engage all the team members, made sure everyone participated, valued their team members' ideas, managed time well, did your team complete the project? And we want them to understand about this idea that it's okay to fail. You may have learned something from your failure, and it's okay to fail, okay? As long as you learn something from it. Did you make good decisions? Make decisions that promoted team success. And then we had them go on to have some self-evaluation. What did you learn from the project? What could your team have done differently? And for the team leader themselves, whoever that was that class period, how did your thinking change once you realized you were the designated leader? There is a shift in how you think and how you deal with people when you know you're the leader. Okay. That's okay. Oh, and the last one is, did you think the leadership skills listed above as your team completed the project, which of the skills above do you think you need to work on? And that's the team logo. And the next one was the paper chain, which the kids really got into. Do you want to do the paper? Do you want to talk about it? Because your kids really.
I think we only have like a minute and a half left, so I'll be real quick. This is another example of a team building activity. The kids had to create the longest paper chain that they could. All students had the same constraints, and they got majorly competitive over this one. If you go to the next slide, you can see these are my biomed kids working on making their paper chain. And for each of these leader activities, the kids choose, they work with the same groups, but they elect a different team leader. So this time around, someone else, I think this little boy was a team leader this time, and the last time it was this little boy.
Let Monica talk a little bit about the inputs there.
Yeah, I just want to talk real quick about how that we decided from the time that we came to Hazard and did the application for the ACT, and the four of us rode together. So on the way back to Paintsville, we were brainstorming all these ideas. We came up with the schedule, we came up with the rotation, and how we wanted to do this. And then, as they've said, we've created the lesson plans and things as we go along based on the reception and what we feel the kids need. The one major thing that I think has made this successful is we have over 1,000 students in our school, and at the end of their 8th grade year, we go over and start their scheduling, and they have to choose a career major. So not that they can't change that, but from that point on, they are in that major as they start into high school. So what we did was, for instance, health science, we have 3 teachers. So we broke those up into sophomores, juniors, and seniors, and each of those students are grouped according to their career major. So our health science teachers have a group of health science students, and that is their go-to advisor type person. They can do those activities, but they're in a group with like-minded students with a professional in that field. We feel that's key to not just breaking these kids up alphabetically, but they need to be in those career majors to make these things come to fruition.
Okay. All right, time is up, but just real quick in conclusion, we feel like this has been a great start. Obviously, we got a long ways to grow with it, but I think the main thing, and at the end of the day, is that we're seeing students start to think about their own future, think about how they can shape that, look the direction they can go into, and unlike other programs, this isn't an alphabetical placing in there. Like Monica said there, this is based off of what they feel like their aspirations are. We're trying to group them that way so they can go in and make decisions, and they got time to change their mind, because if you can change your mind in high school, our goal is by the time they graduate to have that plan in place so they don't go to college and waste time and money. So, any questions from anyone right now? Or do we do questions at the end? I can't remember how they were doing it this time. Any questions? Everybody good? All right.